Hey guys, I'm AJ.
I'm Shanique.
I'm Tazi.
So in 2018, we quit our jobs to travel the world and live a freedom lifestyle.
We wanted to share our journey with you.
So welcome to the family.
Hey family, welcome back. It's Shanique from FroFamilyTravels, and I'm back with another Black Brits Abroad interview, and this one we're doing in person because why not? If I've met someone here that is actually living in Playa del Carmen, then I've got to do this one in person. So I'm so excited to talk to Helen today. Hi Helen, how are you doing?
I'm good. Hey everyone, I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. So Helen, I'm going to hand straight over to you. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got here?
Yeah, it's a long story. Should I tell the long story or just...
Go for it. If you want to, yeah.
So I've always loved to travel. I used to have a thing where my birthday is at the end of November, so I would say every birthday I would travel to a different country every year, and I kind of kept that going since about 2010, as well as traveling around with work. But I've always been a bit of an explorer, and at the same time, coming through kind of my late 20s, early 30s, I was just a bit like London wasn't doing it for me. I was looking at the trajectory and I was working my way up in my career, and I'd moved, I was living by myself, I was renting a flat in South London, and the trajectory of where it was going, to get on the property ladder, to make enough money, I was just looking at where this leads, and all I could see was more work, more stress, and living in a small place. And once you start to travel, you really start to see London is cold and it's expensive. Like, I love London, there's a lot of great things about London too, but when you compare it to places in the rest of the world, it's very expensive. The cost of living is high, and the quality of life isn't, although it is fun, it's like people are too busy to enjoy being human and enjoying their life. And people don't talk to each other when they walk down the street, which is fine when you're used to it. But then when you come out and you're like, okay, I can walk down the street and everyone says hello, good morning to me.
Exactly.
You're seeing people have time to talk to you.
Yeah.
It's just the quality of life for me in London was questionable. I wasn't saying it was a definite no, but it was like, this is a big world. Let me see what the options are. So I was fortunate that, so I had traveled into 4 countries in Africa. So I've been to Gambia, Ghana, South Africa, Ivory Coast, also been to Morocco too. I shouldn't discount Morocco. I'm in 4 countries in Sub-Sahara Africa. And I always thought I would eventually set up home or if I was going to be somewhere long term out of the UK, it would be Africa. My family are Jamaican, but Jamaica felt far, which is ironic because I'm now even further in Mexico. But so I decided, at that point I invested in land in Gambia too, and I planned, so that was 2018 when I bought the land in Gambia, and I planned in 2020 to spend some significant time out of the UK in the Gambia. That was always what I saw myself doing. I saw myself coming out of the corporate environment, moving into wellness, because I've also, along this journey, a big part of what I've found helpful for me to step out is leaning into wellness, meditation, and consciousness, and all of this stuff, which I'm sure we'll come on to. But I thought I would come out of the UK, move to the Gambia, set up a little yoga shack on the beach, and that would be me. Gambia is a beautiful vibe for that. But as I came through 2019, the fear set in, and also the finances just weren't there, and that was really the root of the fear. So through the first half of 2019, I actually was just working on a lot of mindset stuff. So I was still having a great time, living my best life, but at the same time, as you start to do that work and start to see life as bigger, you also start to see the problems, and you're like, these are the things that I now feel empowered to change because I've done the mindset work. So I actually I went on vacation on holiday. That's been hanging out with the Americans. I went on holiday to Portugal, and I remember I had made the decision not to leave in 2020, and then I went on holiday to Portugal, and I was by the sea. I remember we were in the Algarve. We were there for Afro Nation. It was amazing. And I remember it just landed to me then, you have to make leaving the UK happen, because my spirit just felt so free, being in the sunshine, being in the heat, being in the good vibes, and I was like, this is how I want my life to be. This is the benchmark. Anything not aligned to that is beneath the benchmark. So I wasn't financially ready to do it, but I came across a company called Remote Year. And Remote Year I had come across before, a couple of years back. They do work and travel programs where they organize everything for you. You just pay them a monthly fee and you can work your job remotely and you will visit different countries. So they do 4 month, 6 month, 12-month programs.
Wow.
So I signed up basically to do a 12-month program with them through 2020. It was going to be the best year of my life. I was going to work abroad. I was going to travel to 12 countries. At the time, my role, I was in a global role, so it really suited it. Like, my manager was based in the United States, so it really didn't matter where I was. I was never on everyone's time zone, and I was used to working like that. So it fit really well. So end of 2019, I packed up, left everything, and packed my suitcase, and we moved. So the first country was Chile. So I went to Santiago, which was the longest flight I've ever been on. It was 14 and a half hours, I think it was, from Heathrow. Remote Year, that experience, up until March, because we know the pandemic hit in March, but up until March, it really was the most eye-opening experience for me. It was expensive. I probably, although I was earning at the same time, I definitely would have come back having spent, I wouldn't have come back with money. I would have had a lot of experience, but I wouldn't have come back with money. But at the same time, what was so valuable was there's basically 30 of us, and it's people from different walks of life. Most of them, I'd say about 80% of them were either like self-employed or retired. So I've now put myself in an environment unintentionally where it used to be, it was normal that everyone I worked with was employed and lived the same narrative. But I'm now with like people who own hotels, coaches, like fitness professionals, people who are into like investments, crypto, all of that. And you know what I found was that I was the one working the hardest and making the least money.
Wow, okay.
That was the truth that hit me. And you know, like, great people, but not very different to me. It's not like they were
any more special.
So it suddenly, my norm became people being self-employed, which gave me the courage to kind of double down on what I wanted to do. And when the pandemic hit, it really was quite like earth-shattering, because I was in Colombia at the time. Remote Year basically had to shut down business because they had programs all over the world. And I had the choice of, do I go back to the UK or do I stick this out here? And I realized the steps I had taken were, 2 months earlier, I'd cut myself off from the UK basically. It didn't make sense to go back with the desire of where I wanted to go. As hard as it felt, it was like, this is kind of make or break. Either I go back to being unhappy and miserable, or I really step outside of my comfort zone and basically bet on myself, bet on myself to do the work and make it, and the environment was conducive to that. 2020, I basically spent most of the year working my corporate job, but saving. I was in Colombia and the cost of living was low. They had no tourism, so it was literally like Airbnb hosts were like, please come and stay at my apartment. So, the cost of living was low. There was not a lot to do. So it was tough. It was stressful. It was the hardest year of my life. But it was just work, save, study, as long as I could. And then I basically did it as long as I could. And then I resigned and just bet on myself to build the business. And yeah, then Mexico was open at the time because Colombia we had to leave because of visa reasons. So I just came to Playa del Carmen, started teaching yoga on the beach whilst doing my studies at the same time, which is basically just I've stuck with for the past 18 months, and it's now growing to the point that I'm starting to get comfortable with it and seeing really that it is very possible to change your life. Like, it takes work, but when you do the mindset work, it really, there's no choice other than to bet on yourself and see it through. So yeah, and I really want to, like you were saying before, I really want to be that example for people. I want, if one person just sees, oh wow, it's possible for me to do something else, then I've done my job here. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
You know, because my struggle was I've never seen anyone like me do this, and that's always been my struggle. As I meet new milestones in the journey, it's like there's no one in my family that earns their own income in the way that I do, or lives abroad, or you know, things like that, and you have to meet all of the things that come with that. So to be able to do that and know that whoever sees me afterwards knows that it's possible, that for me is like the ultimate motivation.
Absolutely. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to start this series, Black Brits Abroad, because I think representation is one of the most empowering things for our people, especially in the living abroad space as well, because I feel that travel is very Americanized, and even less so, you know, we see black people in general. We are highly unlikely to see black British people living a life like this. So to be able to highlight your story, other people's stories, to show that it can be done, it is being done, I think is powerful. And like you said, just even if it means just being able to impact on one person here or there, it matters. It matters that you can allow and encourage people to just know that it's possible matters, I think.
And it's the ripple effects, because I'm always like, if it's one person, they then normalize it for whoever sees them.
Exactly, yeah,
it's
100%.
worth the, you know, I feel like people in our ancestry have done a lot harder things, like much harder things. The world we live in now, with the internet, with, it's easy, like I don't have to miss home, you know. I can speak to who I want to speak to on video, I can connect to, I can work with people back home. It's, you know, it's so, the environment we're in is so fertile for choosing where you live and what you do. The power structure is changing, and
100%.
People can embrace that. So
Wow. So how did your family react to you basically deciding not to come back to London after what should have only been a year?
You know, they were fine. I think so. Like, my brother is the big voice of authority in my household, but like even he was like, what is there to come back to? You know, it really was a case of London is going into lockdown. Like at the time the pandemic hit, it was like London is going into lockdown, Colombia's going to go into lockdown. Does it really matter where you're on lockdown? And so they've been absolutely really supportive in terms of, there's been no challenge, no kind of you should come back. There'll be little comments here and there, but not, you know, that's more of a, I don't expect them to see my vision, so I kind of let it go. But generally they've been absolutely fine, encouraging, you know, especially whilst I don't have children. I mean, you're doing it with children, which is a whole different thing, but like they're like, go and live your life, do something that we couldn't do. So it's been cool, and I'm thankful and appreciative of that.
And how are you enjoying Mexico, Playa del Carmen in particular?
I love Playa. I love Playa. I love the beach. I love the palm trees, the weather, the people. It's just, this is why I've stayed here, because I originally only came for like 6 weeks. And the reason I've stayed for so long is that I've thought about traveling to other places, and when I've traveled in the past, I've always traveled to the tropics, to the beach. So I'm like, where am I going to go? What else do I need? Like, everything is here.
Yeah.
You know, I also really, what's impressed me about Mexico is the people as well. Like, the locals are so friendly, so warm.
Yeah.
And then it's the options to travel into the city if I need to.
Yes.
Although I barely use it.
Yeah.
But, you know, I've been to Mexico City and a couple of other places. But in terms of the nature, I love it. And it's something that didn't really hit me until I was here. But you don't have like a lot of the entertainment and things that we have in London. Like, you don't have like the theatre. You do have the cinema, but you know, like there's certain things that you don't have. Yeah. But I found that I don't need them. Yes. I found that I'm just at peace. For me, it is beautiful to look out on my terrace every morning and see palm trees and bright birds, and it's like I don't feel as much as though I need to be distracted from life. So I can do, I can make do with what there is here. Like, literally the beach is enough for me.
Yeah. It's so interesting because I was watching a video the other day and someone was talking about this, and they were saying, you know, when you live in the West, you realize how much money you actually waste. Not to say that, you know, entertainment and doing things on the weekend or whatever isn't fun and we shouldn't be enjoying ourselves, but consumerism is such a huge part of living in the West. Like, I don't buy clothes out here really unless I need to, and I'm like, until things are falling apart, I don't buy clothes out here. Like you said, the entertainment is generally free. It's nature, it's just what's around you, so you just don't even consume as much living out here, I feel. So yeah, I completely agree with you. And that it's already low cost of living here, and that just adds to it.
For sure.
So can you talk us through, what does a typical day look like for you?
Typical day. So I teach yoga online, and I also I work with people on expanding their consciousness. So I don't like to use the word coach because it is their own consciousness. I'm not coaching them, but it's like giving people practical ways that they can access their subconscious through their body. So those are online sessions as well that I lead to. They tend to all be in the morning. So a typical day for me is I wake up at 4 a.m.
Ooh.
My first yoga clients, like my busiest hour for yoga is 6 a.m.
Wow.
So that's why I'm up at 4 to make sure I'm ready to serve at 6 a.m. Most of my clients are in the United States for that. So yeah, 6 a.m. is yoga, and then usually up until 12 it will be a bit of work, a bit of breakfast and eating, grocery shopping, a bit more work, writing up notes and things like that. And then usually in the afternoon I get to have a break, so I might come out to the beach, or I really might just chill at home. You know, read. I live quite a simple life. I'm also quite a homebody. I don't need to be out in the mix that much. When I am, I'm there, but it is like few and far between. So yeah, that's basically work, rest, self-care. I've just got spa membership as well, because I was like, we need a bit more pampering. But yeah, I'd say it's kind of similar to London in terms of its work and rest, self-care.
But better work-life balance, would you say?
Yeah, and the difference is the work I do, I absolutely love.
That's important.
That is, so getting out of bed at 4 a.m. is not like a chore.
Yeah.
It's like, it's still a bit of a chore, but my body is still like, do we have to? But it's not as, like, I don't spend my days serving people who I don't want to serve.
Yeah.
Doing things that seem pointless. Like, my work, I feel is really purposeful, and the impact that it has on people is huge. So, you know, I come out of a client session, I'm like, wow, I just changed their perspective on this thing that they really thought they could have changed their perspective on, and that is rewarding. So I'm a lot happier than I was in London, for sure, and the fact that my work is more enjoyable is a big part of that.
You said you went through a really big mindset shift to kind of get you here, and especially in terms of thinking about developing your business and making that happen. what clicked? What was the moment that it's made sense to you that you could do this, that you could, because I think that's the biggest thing that holds people back at the moment is, you know, especially in terms of financially, people want to do it, but they just can't comprehend, especially those that want to work for themselves. They want to do it, but they just can't get around leaving the stability, or what seems like stability anyway, of being employed, and taking the risk. So what worked for you?
That's a good question. I guess, and this is why I moved into intuition training, because I think it was learning to honor my voice, my inner voice, to count my inner voice as important and valuable, and having information that is useful to me. So for me to be able, because I think the reason I wouldn't do it would be I don't trust myself to actually do it. I'm thinking about the rain.
I know. I was like, okay, what moment am I going to acknowledge the rain? It's just started raining. To a certain extent, I like it. I like it when it rains in Mexico compared to London. However, it's starting to come down quite heavy, so we may need to move indoors. Yeah, I think we're going to move. All right, we're indoors now. Can't be in the sunshine all the time, I guess.
So yeah, in terms of what clicked, it really was, I think, learning to honor my voice, learning to realize that if I didn't, it caused me more stress than the actual process of meeting life as it comes. It was like not honoring my voice was more painful, not honoring the part of me that wanted to do something else. And then the examples, like that 2.5 months in remote year really was when I saw people,
when you saw other people doing it,
there's no reason why I can't apply myself. So if you really want something, yes, it will be hard, but you start to not be so fearful of the hard, and you choose your hard, right?
Absolutely.
You choose either I don't listen to that part of me that wants to do something and spend my life miserable, depressed. Your health suffers, everything suffers, your relationships with people suffer, or you actually step out and bet on yourself, and trust in yourself to learn skills, you know, remain a student, remain teachable, and I think it's possible, and find as many examples as you can, like as well, like also coaches, like I did a practitioner training, but I also have a coach that supports me on wealth, creating wealth, because I realized I come up against, what was new for me was no one in my family has, well, probably somewhere in the lineage, but no one that I knew creates wealth from themselves and from their hands. What does that feel like? What does it feel to sell your first thing at over £1,000? How does that make your nervous system feel? Does it feel scary? And processing all of those emotions around being the creator of my wealth rather than just receiving it. Definitely investing in a network is a huge part of it.
Wow. So can you tell us a bit more about being melanated here in Mexico? How has that experience been for you? A lot of people, another reason they're scared to live abroad is because of this big fear of racism outside of the UK. Like what racism?
Like racism. This is just a great PR job the West has done. That's what the West has done a great PR job. The world isn't like the West. And I always say it's not that there's not racism here. There's definitely classism. There's definitely like an element of segregation. I don't think it's like forced, but it's evident. So there must be issues about accessibility to certain things. But I have not, like, there's a black community here, but I don't even feel so much of a need. This is the thing that's really interesting for me, actually. When I was before I traveled, or before I came to Mexico, I felt more of a need to cultivate black spaces. It was and what I'm seeing now, having come out of that, is it's almost like a defense mechanism. It's like the society in the UK is aggressive, so you're like, I need to be around black people.
Right.
When you come into places where the society isn't so aggressive, I found I don't have that same need. Like, I love being around black people, but it's not as much of a necessity.
Interesting.
And that's been a big thing for me, because I'm like, what is that? You used to be like black, 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 and now I'm like, you know, there's still things that, you know, still happen and throw me off, but it's less of the core thing that defines me, which I like. That feels like a growth and expansion. I still certainly embrace my blackness, it's not that, but it's more of I am black and I am a woman, I am a person, and I don't feel such of a need to do things because of blackness. Which is something I'm still navigating, because it's really something that's only shifted in the past 2 years.
Okay.
That I've noticed. But I don't really experience racism, no. If anything, people like love you because you're black. They're like brown sugar, and not in a kind of
like fetish.
It's just they admire you. Which is, I enjoy it.
We found as well, like when we're talking to the locals, when they're talking about things that annoy them in particular, they're like, not you guys, like, we love you, we love black people. Gringos, on the other hand, like, do you know what I mean? They're like, you're our brothers, you're our sisters. Like they I feel they connect with us.
For sure.
More so than they do, especially like white Americans. They tend to more have a disdain towards, I think.
For sure. I definitely had an experience when I first came here. I was just practicing yoga on the beach, and I used to go to the same spot every day, and one of the times I left and a local man said to me, oh, you're welcome here, this is my ancestors' land and you're welcome here, like, we like you. And it was kind of an acknowledgement in that way, which was really beautiful. When we were in Ghana last year, I think one of our reasons for going was feeling like we needed to be in a black majority country, feeling like we needed to be amongst our own people. So it's really interesting to hear you talk about not needing that. And like you said, there's a great black community here, but just focusing on just being, like, there's not so much of a focus on blackness here, which is cool, to just be, to not have to be black, almost, like, do you know what I mean? Like, I don't have to be black here, I just am, which is cool. That is very cool. It's freeing. I realize I don't want to spend my whole life fighting the black struggle. Like, there's also living to do. And here I felt more free in doing that than when I was in London, for sure.
That's interesting. That is very interesting. So, what does the next year, 3 to 5 years look like for you? What are you hoping to work on? Where are you hoping to be in that time?
So, I just got my residency here in Mexico.
Nice.
Nice. Which has helped me kind of get my head straight. Because I think up until that point, I very much felt like I'm here just for a little bit, and then I need to find somewhere else to be. But it's like, as soon as that landed for me, I felt myself land a bit more in terms of being able to think about the future and see what's working about Mexico, what else I desire. So I see, certainly for most of this year, staying here, continuing to focus on the business, because that just takes energy and attention. I'm hoping to take a little short trip back to London to visit family and friends, and then I'll be back here in autumn. I've been doing retreats since January this year up until the end of May. I've got one more at the end of this month, and just continuing to build that retreat business here, because like Mexico is such a beautiful place to travel to, Playa Del Carmen in particular. So building that over the winter seasons, and then trying to go to the UK in the summer seasons, depending on how it is being there. But that's what I'm toying with.
Okay.
But I'm also open, like this journey has taught me also to stay open.
Yeah.
You never know. It could be Mexico all the way through. I don't know. At the moment, I just know I desire to spend a little bit of time back home. So in that home.
I was gonna say home. Yeah.
It's in that, I'm like, in that home. Multiple homes. But in that home, spend a little bit of time there because I haven't been there for, come the end of this year, it'll be 3 years. And then, it depends on how the business grows, what the opportunities are. You know, I've even considered like South Africa, Johannesburg. There's loads of little options, but right now Mexico is working, so as long as Mexico is working, I'm willing to stay with it. Like, I didn't think Mexico would work this long. So it is a learning experience that I'm making.
Sure. And of course, you're going back to the UK to see friends, family. Is there anything else that you actually miss about the UK?
Carnival. That is the only
So you're
thing.
going back for Carnival this year?
No.
No.
Because flying back to the UK in August is
In that time,
It's a
it's
pretty
money.
penny.
Yeah.
That's why I'm like summer next year.
Okay.
I've been happy that the 2 years I've been out there haven't been Carnival. But yeah, no, it's the culture, like, you know, going out, listening to soca whenever I want to, like all of that. Other than that, I don't know. Yeah, family and friends, but that's about it.
Most things you can get here, like,
Yeah.
really. That you probably miss. Apart from fish and chips, I miss fish and chips so much.
I do. Yes. I'm with you. I like chip shop chips
Oh,
when I go back.
right. Seriously, it's a thing. It is a thing. Yeah, no one's open. There's no fish and chip shop here. That could work. Right?
It's funny, like, because people, when they come over, they always say, what should I bring you? And I can never think of anything. I'm like, I've really got everything I need. Yeah. When my sister-in-law came at Christmas, I didn't ask her for mince pies.
Mid-fives, really?
That's that, like,
I asked my mum for some crunchy nut clusters. And I was thinking about asking her for some baked beans as well. Pardon?
you know, got beans here. You got
We're not baked
They're not
beans.
No, you're good, like, red kidney beans. Black beans.
Yeah, not quite the same, but yeah, it's like little odd bits. But for the most part, you have everything you need. So yeah, that's understandable. So you mentioned that you also have some land in Gambia. So have you toyed with going there?
Yeah, so originally that was the plan. Now I'm leaving that open. So it's definitely still a consideration. Definitely, like, in terms of depending on how my business builds, if retreats is a big part of it, then bringing that into that space. But we'll see. I'm just allowing it just to grow.
So a good way to
organically, yeah.
That's a great way to be, and I love that you built a life that allows for that level of freedom as well, and not needing to have everything completely worked out. That's a great way to be. So if you were able to do your time over again, is there anything that you would do differently?
In Mexico.
The whole thing. So can maybe take it back to planning to do your remote year.
Yes. I would have studied what I wanted to do, because a big part of the time in the past years has been me studying intuition practices and all of that work. I would have done that whilst I was working full-time.
Okay. So earlier. So you had that earlier.
Sooner. I would have gotten over the fear of doing something different. A lot of it was procrastination of I don't know what I'm going to do, and actually just I would have chosen something and just studied it and stepped out, and then also done that whilst I had the security of my job. still made it work, but it would have been easier. I could have done, like, there's money that I wasted in the past that really could have gone on what I wanted to do, and just being willing to invest in myself sooner. I think that's what it is. When you are in a comfortable job, you're less likely to want to invest in yourself, and I think I just wish I had invested in my dreams sooner.
And can you tell us more about your dream, what it is? I know you've kind of shared a bit more, you have shared a little bit about, you know, that you teach yoga on a daily basis, you run retreats. Can you sum it all up for us? What would you title yourself? What do you do?
So at the moment I'm sitting with Consciousness Guide, which is essentially supporting people with accessing parts of their consciousness that they're not used to actually accessing, in accordance with being able to embody more of themselves.
Wow.
So it means getting rid of fears, it means honoring their inner voice, it means understanding why you think certain things are possible and why other things are not possible. And it also is about seeing bigger possibilities for your life too. And whether that's through just one-on-one chats and discussion and sessions like that, or in practice with your body, so working with breath, working with your physical well-being to support your nervous system in helping you show up for the dream that you want to.
Wow. And if people want to learn more about what you do, they want to book you, how can they do that?
So my company is called Happy Chrysalis. It's HAPI, Chrysalis, like butterfly chrysalis. And yeah, you can find me on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Insight Timer, happychrysalis.com. Yeah, everywhere online.
Awesome. We'll drop all that information in the description as well, so you can get to know more about Helen and what she does. One last question, Helen, if you don't mind. Are you reading anything currently?
Yes. I am listening to, I just got Audible, which helps me get through books faster. Will Smith's book.
Okay.
Which I know he's famous for other things right now. But I started reading that or listening to that just before that. It's really interesting actually. But yeah, I've been a big fan of Will Smith like since I was, you know, a child. And listening, what's really cool about listening to him tell his story as well is I feel like I was there. Like I was in the chapter earlier this week where he's talking about when he got pitched Men in Black, when they decided to create a song for it, and it's like I was like you're having that moment with him. So he's also, his mind is phenomenal in terms of building, creating, and just showing up as himself.
Yeah.
So yeah, I found that really good. Like more, I procrastinated on reading it for ages, and then when my friends recommended it, and it's been better than I thought it.
Good to know, because it was on my list to read actually. And then, you know, because like you said, he's been in the news a lot over the last year or two for a number of different reasons. And I've been unsure about how to feel about him. Because like you said, I've grown up, you know, obviously knowing him as well and being very inspired by his work ethic and everything he does. But you'd still recommend it?
For sure, and it's like, it's not that by reading it doesn't make him your idol.
No.
It just means you can learn from him, and this is a guy that's done phenomenal work. Like, and he has a certain mindset that has gotten him to where he's got to. So it makes it powerful to listen to. If you want to step out and be the best at anything, I think you can listen to him, and then the bits you don't agree with, you can, all right.
The message is still relevant. Yeah. Awesome. Well, Helen, thank you so much for joining us. It's been such a beautiful conversation. I appreciate your time, and it's just been great to meet you finally.
I know, right?
Finally in the beautiful Playa del Carmen. Family, thank you for joining us again, and we look forward to seeing you in the next one. Take care, guys. Bye.